So I think, Myra, that when it comes to working break building is a combination of ball patterns that we see professionals or better players play, and the shot variances that we have the capability and have practiced enough to feel comfortable with. I think one thing that we see more often now than we used to in the past was players would knock in the first couple of reds and then, simply get low on the black and open the pack. This wasn't done traditionally years ago. They would break out sides of the reds, 2, 3, 4 reds at a time, so that in the case that they did miss their next ball, that their opponent would actually still have to do a lot of work to complete the frame. But there are certain patterns that do create availabilities for us. Some of that is experience, because we know that waiting for the last ball is not necessarily the best scenario. We can have a full table such as this with a couple of loose reds. The thinking prior to is probably going to make a big difference.
Can you point out specific things that you see here, just as you're looking at this table now?
Well, the first thing that I see when I look down at this particular table now is that this is going to be a very key ball right here.
Okay, why is that?
The reason being is because it offers the opportunity at low on this particular side to open coming through this direction here.
Okay.
So in other words, we're going to play this into the corner, and we're going to have some bottom and siding on the ball that's going to pull it in this direction here.
Okay. So do you see yourself getting to that position from where you are now on this black, or would you be?
Well, if I was playing in this position, we have 15 open reds, and if I was playing into this position here on the first red here, I would probably want to not only place this position low on the black, a little bit low, or leave it where it is to be able to come off a rail.
So do you see there's something called the 3-ball routine, which is you see the red, you're on a red, but you see the next red.
Yes. So we always have in our mind what's going to be available for us, what we're going to be playing position to, and then hopefully we're going to have something as a backup, another ball that's going to be available on that side of the table, or that's going to be available after the balls come out. Nothing in that is ever a guarantee, and it's always going to be, to some degree, only controllable to a certain percentage. In this particular predicament we're in now, where we've potted this red, and we play to this position here, it now offers two different types of breaks. One is that we can break this knowing that this ball here is now going to kick out, that the momentum of the ball is pushing this way, a couple are going to come out in this direction, and if we pull the cue ball back, we can do that in two ways. One is to hit it just hard enough to bring a couple of balls out, pot the ball, bring the cue ball into this section here, off this red, back out this way, available for either the black or the pink that comes about. The other possible way from here, for those that are more aggressive, is where they can make that same pot with a lot more strength. They can actually maybe even put bottom and check the ball up, which is going to slow the ball off this rail, open the pack a lot more full, and bring it back out, say, into the center.
That would be left-hand side?
In this particular case, this would be bottom right-hand side.
Bottom right-hand side.
Yeah, and that would just basically help kill the cue ball after the spread of the balls. But again, every time that you open a large group of balls, in a situation like this, there is no guarantee that you're going to come up on a color. Other players are going to see 3 possible colors available, that if they pull out into a neutral area, the percentages they think are going to be pretty good.
Do you think it's the way the game is played now, which is to smash the balls open as soon as possible? Because I've got an article on my website that says, well, if you're not running 60s and 70s, maybe it's not the right thing to do.
I would have to agree.
You and I actually had a discussion a long time ago, I remember, about, I think you called it casing your own game, is what I believe you said? Charting your own game. So can you explain what that means?
I think a lot of it is that we all see a lot of guys that on the pro circuit, whether it be Marco Fu, whether it be Stephen Hendry, or Ronnie O'Sullivan, that open those balls and finish a frame off. And that's a brilliant thing, but they have the ability to do that time and time again. I think in the sense of charting is knowing what your strengths and your weaknesses are. If this half of the table for you is one of your strengths, where potting in short, your control in this area is exceptional, is good, then that creates more worth in breaking the balls a little bit further. If it's not your forte, if it's not something you do well, basically your opponent's loving it every time you open them.
So is it just something where you have to practice the short game so that you become comfortable?
I think so. There's a lot of different routines that are required to develop the skills that you need in this area. If you look at a guy like Cliff Thorburn, and I don't think there's anybody that's probably better in that last half of the table in the past, let's say, and certainly now with more pros that we know. But when Cliff got into this end of the table, if those balls came open, his position was, he really didn't have to look for a secondary ball. I mean, it was constantly, his position was so tight, so amazing. But it's important in break building that this half of the table is where the scoring is. It's almost like in golf where they say putting is where all of the strokes are saved. In this game, this is where the most amount of damage or the most amount of points that are going to be put together is going to happen. So I would have to say, you know, in break building, it's a combination of opportunity and knowing what to do with that opportunity. And the other part of it is being very honest with yourself and knowing what you can and can't do. If you cannot,
even on the day, because some days you might be.
That's right. There's certain days you're going to be more aggressive, and other days that if your player is as well or better than you in this half of the table, opening 14 reds or 15 reds is not necessarily advisable. In match play, unless you are a very, very, very good potter and break builder, it's very chancy to open all 15.